they're trying to reach, and also very cost effective because it's not nearly as expensive. So under the current administration, I know there's been a lot of progress made, and I hope today we'll hear ways to make even more progress. I'm especially delighted to give a shout out to Jose Bayona, who once was a student here and was one of my students. So I feel particularly excited to see him in his new role. And without any further ado, I'm going to ask Jahangir Khattak to come up here and spell out a little bit more about your day. But thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, my name is Jahangir Khattak, and I am the co-director of the center. I joined my colleague Karen Painter, who is taking photographs, in welcoming you to the CUNY Graduate School of Journalism. I also want to thank our Dean, Sarah Bartlett, for supporting our work. In fact, it was Sarah's idea. She initiated it, and then I worked on and Mom. And yes, Gary started and Sarah started this whole project from the beginning. But for this conference, the initiative, the email that I received was from Sarah. So here we are. And I'm very happy that all of you have come. I have also wished to thank Jose Bayona, who is the Director of Community and Ethnic Media at the Mayor's Office. Also the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, who also gave us a generous grant for trainings. In fact, the second part of today's conference will be a 3-hour-long training, which will start at 2:30 p.m. We also want to thank the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, the Department of Health, who have all helped us to put this together. I wish to acknowledge the presence of some other city agencies representatives, including the Mayor's Office of Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprises, New York City Department of Corrections, and I think a couple of other departments are also here. You can meet them during the 30-minute break that we will have at the end of this panel. I encourage you to meet and greet them. And after the panel, as I said, we'll have a 30 minutes break, and then we'll have a training, 3-hour-long training, which will start at 2:30 p.m. And last but not the least, we recently announced the IPPES Journalism Awards. This is the annual award that CCEM gives every year in 10 different categories, and I encourage you to consider sending entries. The last date, the deadline for entries is May 21st, and the award ceremony will be held on June 21st. Without taking any more time, I invite Elinor Tatum, whom I want to thank for being the moderator for today's panel. So it's over to you, Elinor.
Thank you so much. Just a quick. Thank you. Sorry about that. I was just asking someone to put up all the emails of our panelists up on this whiteboard over here so that you will have, you can write that all down. So if you weren't able to get a card or if they did not have an extra one, you will have their information. So that will be up there for you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to the Center for Community and Ethnic Media for hosting this. It's a wonderful opportunity for all of us here. Navigating the city government in any form is very difficult, and advertising is no different. And this is an opportunity to be able to talk to the people that make decisions, and that can help you navigate this maze and hopefully make it a bit easier and answer some of the questions that you may have, and hopefully open up the doors to some dollars. Because at the end of the day, that's what it really is all about. So the way this is going to work is we're going to hear from each of our panelists for a few minutes. Then I'm going to ask a few questions, and then it's going to be opened up to all of you to ask your questions, and then they will be sticking around for a little while afterwards to meet and greet and to answer any questions that may not have been answered. And of course, we also have their email addresses available to you so that you'll be able to reach out to them afterwards. But we've got a great panel today. We've got Maibe Ponet, who's the Chief Communications Officer for the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Rosemary Boeglin, who's the Communications Director of Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. Janet Allan, Associate Commissioner of Communications and Marketing, the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. And Jose Bayona, who's the Director of Community and Ethnic Media, the Office of the Mayor, Bill de Blasio. And we're just going to start right at the far end with Maibe Ponet, who will introduce herself and tell us a little bit about her position and what she does. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is it working? Yes. So again, my name is Maibe Ponet, and I'm Chief Communications Officer at the New York City Health Department. In my current role, I oversee the marketing department, the digital department, the press office, publications, translations, and language access. So I am not the marketing director, so I hope that I can accurately describe what we do and what how we work with you and how we can improve our relationship. A little bit about myself. I am a former journalist, and I remember my days working in a very small newspaper in East Harlem, and writing editorial content and looking for people who would believe in what we were doing and buy advertising for us. So I know it's tough. I know that sometimes you often rather have to compete with publications that have much larger circulation. And so you have to explain over and over again the virtue and the value of the work you do, and how people in the community really rely on the information that you provide, and they pick up your publication from the laundromat, from the barbershop, or whatever you put it. And so I just want to say that I very much feel, and I have an appreciation for the work you do, and I think I understand the challenges. After that amazing experience working in East Harlem for that newspaper that doesn't longer exist, I worked for Spanish language newspapers for a long time, for Hoy, and I think I have my former boss, Javier Castaño, here, and for El Diario, which you probably all know, where I was doing the editorial page. So very, very happy to be here now in this role. I've been, some of you might know me from my many various positions as a press person. I have reached out to you, maybe looking for editorial content. My role now is a little different. But anyway, I have, I just want to stress how much I appreciate and understand, I believe I understand the work you all do.
All right. And next we have Rosemary Boeglin from the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs.
Hello.
Yep.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me, having me. As she said, my name is Rosemary Boeglin. I'm the Communications Director at the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. And the city broadly, and especially at the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, we understand the importance of community and ethnic media as one of the primary sources for thousands of New Yorkers, particularly people focused on hyperlocal news, newly arrived immigrant populations, limited English proficient populations. In a city of over 150 languages, we have more than 250 community and ethnic media outlets, which is essential. And we're supported, we support at the Mayor's Office these outlets and trying to find vital sources of funding through advertising with the city. Part of our approach is ensuring that all New Yorkers have information on services that impact their lives. And so, the way that we do that and work with other city agencies on that, just a few examples, are training other city agencies on how to use our community and ethnic media directory and make contacts with outlets that we might have. We just launched a municipal ID campaign for IDNYC with the Human Resources Administration Through that, we advertised with over 50 community and ethnic media outlets that launched just a couple weeks ago, many of the outlets that are here in the room today. And so through that, it was a priority to ensure that advertising campaign is translated in the languages that New Yorkers speak, that it's in the papers that New Yorkers read. So you play a crucial role in that. And that's reflected across our marketing campaigns. So from IDNYC to DACA, paid sick leave, pre-K for all, right? These are successful because we're advertising in the papers that New Yorkers read in the languages they speak. So we're very interested in continuing this conversation. I know many of you, I hope to connect with all of you if I can before we leave today, and my email address is on the board, because your reporting is really crucial in getting information out to our constituents. You serve as a bridge between diverse communities in New York City, so happy to continue this conversation, and thank you for having me.
All right, next we have Janet Allen, who's from the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Glad to see you this afternoon. It's true, I am Janet Allen. I am the Associate Commissioner for Marketing and Communications at the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment. Our agency encompasses the key economic and creative sectors of film, television, theater, music, publishing, journalism, advertising, and digital media. We also oversee NYC Media, which is the largest municipal broadcasting entity in the country with 5 television channels and 1 radio station and a reach of 18 million viewers in a 50-mile radius. So our agency obviously has a deep interest and commitment to the business of journalism and local journalism and community journalism. And we recognize the importance of community and ethnic journalism and media in general here in New York City, which is why we proudly support CUNY's Graduate School of Journalism Center for Community and Ethnic Media and programs like this one today. We also recently hosted a forum at Columbia Journalism School's Tao Center, which was to discuss how the city and charitable institutions can address the troubling decline in local journalism. And we continue to explore that issue and ways to support local media beyond advertising, as important as that is. On a personal note, I am also a former journalist. I got my start in community journalism, and I have experienced the joys and the challenges and the seismic shifts in that landscape firsthand. Our agency has a dual role of promoting the industries in our portfolio and ensuring access and inclusion for all New Yorkers, both to potential employment pathways into the entertainment and media industries, as well as the opportunity to enjoy the cultural riches that New York City has to offer. So for example, we produce Broadway in the Boroughs in the summer, which is Broadway showcases with current Broadway stars in each borough in parks for free. We also are currently doing One Book, One New York again, where we're trying to get all New Yorkers on the same page in the same book, and we want everybody to vote for the book that we should all read together. And we have numerous workforce initiatives, again, to give underserved New Yorkers access to careers in entertainment and media. I look forward to hearing more from you. Obviously, advertising is one of the ways that we like to spread the word about the work that we're doing and get everybody to turn out at the park to hear Broadway tunes or see a movie under the stars. And I look forward to discussing our strategies for advertising more with you today.
Thank you, Janet. Next, we have Jose Bayona, who is from the Director of Community and Ethnic Media, the Office of the Mayor.
Thank you very much. 1, 2, okay. Thank you very much for being here today. I have to say that this is really, really exciting because first, this place is very close to me. I graduated here, as you know, and as some of my colleagues here, I come from the journalism industry, so now I'm working for the city. So first thing that I want to say is that when we talk about, I say we because we in this administration also talk about that. When we talk about the struggles that many of you are going through because of the changes in the journalism industry, we understand that. I understand that. I worked for many years, as Maibe did, for El Diario, for Daily News, for many small publications, especially in Queens. So, and I know the changes that we went through. So I've been here at this position for 2 months now. Before that, I worked for the Department of Transportation, and as you know, that's a big agency in this city. After that, I worked for the Administration for Children's Services, another agency that offers a lot of social services for the city. And now I have this, and I've been holding this position, and just want to, sometimes people say, oh, what the Director of Community and Ethnic Media does at the Mayor's office. So my job is to know more about you, so I can connect you with the agencies, with all your needs, all your requests, not only the information that you're looking for your stories every day, every week, or any statement from the mayor, or when we do the town halls. Beyond that, also, I work with the agencies to create a stronger relationship because for us, for this administration, it's very important the people who you talk to. That's a big part of the the most important part of this of the constituency in this city. I want to say that on the board that you see there is an email address that I created this week, especially for the ethnic media. It's called ethnicmedia@cityhall.nyc.gov. On that email address, please use that email address to connect with us, with the mayor's office. I'm gonna be the only person checking that email address for now, but any comments that you have, anything that you wanna say to this administration, even in confidential information or anything any complaint that you have, you can direct it to me or you can call me. So, and thank you very much again for this opportunity, and I know that you might have some questions, a lot of questions about advertisement, and let's start.
All right, thank you so much. I realized I didn't properly introduce myself. I'm Elinor Tatum, and I'm publisher and editor-in-chief of the New York Amsterdam News. And we are 109 years old this year. We've been around for quite a while. And as one of the oldest and largest Black newspapers in the country, and one of the oldest in New York, or the oldest in New York, we have the same issues that most of you in this room have and continue to have. There's a saying in the Black community, when America gets a cold, Black America gets pneumonia. Now, that's the same for Black newspapers and for ethnic newspapers and community newspapers especially. When the newspaper industry gets a cold, when we see a drop-off in revenue, when we see problems in general with the newspaper industry, in community and ethnic media, we have pneumonia. And we're in one of those times right now, so wherever we can find revenue and whatever we can do to build up our strengths is something that we have to go after and figure out how to best utilize. So this is that opportunity. So I'm going to start with a question actually for the audience. How many of you here are certified as MWBEs? If you are, raise your hands. All right, so of everyone here, how many of you believe you are eligible to be certified as an MWBE, your business? Okay, and of those, how many of you are not? An MWBE, minority or women-owned business? You have to be 51% owned by ethnic minority or a woman, or both? Oh, all right. So the next question I'm going to ask to the panel, does being certified as a minority and woman-owned business, if eligible, matter?
I can take that question first from my colleagues. Okay, I want to say that from the mayor's office, when I talk, it's all about the whole, talking about the whole city, and yes, it matters for the city. So, because we want people to get certified and that. But the questions that you might have, I guess the next question is, being certified is gonna get me to get advertisement, or is like a requisite to get advertisement? And the answer for being a requisite is no. I mean, you don't have to, anybody can access to advertisement from the city, but it's not, the city is not saying that we have, you have to be certified from MWB to get advertisement from the city. That on the side, so there are so many resources. What happens when you are certified? You have so many resources that you can take advantage of. We have today here one representative from the office that after the event, please, I encourage you to talk to Raul, and say, and know exactly what resources can this office can offer you. And that's a good way to start all this process and get all the benefits that you get.
One benefit I can tell you is that you're part of a database. So when they're looking to advertise, when an agency is looking to advertise, they'll look first to see who is actually certified as an MWBE in the city. And once they find the ones that are certified, those are the ones that they will go to first, because that's the lowest hanging fruit and easiest for them to find. So it's definitely something to think about, and something that we should definitely talk about at some point, about how to get certified and that whole certification process. So I hope that's something that we can think about for a future panel. All right, and so what would you say are the challenges and benefits of working with ethnic and community media when it comes to your specific agencies?
First, I just want to clarify, just at least from the perspective of the health department, I would encourage anyone to be certified. It has a lot of benefits, as Elinor just pointed out, and you might want to talk to Raul to understand what those benefits are. And if you expand and you have any other services that you want to offer, the city will look at into that database. We do not look at the database for purposes of advertising, though. However, it is true that if you are on the radar, right? If we know that you are there, you are more likely to be considered for our media buys. So again, just technically, we don't really look into. You don't have to be certified to get advertising dollars from us, but there are a lot of benefits, and you definitely want to consider it. So that said, to the question specifically, I mean, for the health department, I mean, it's very straightforward. We base our advertising on epidemiology, and most of our campaigns are very targeted. So if we have a case of high mercury in products coming from Bangladesh, then we need to know, we need the means and to reach out to this specific community. So for us, it's definitely an advantage to know where are the papers out there serving this population. Similarly for, I have countless examples like HIV, which we have a lot of budget for. Every year we put a lot of dollars on HIV education, and we will focus on outlets that reach young men who have sex with men, because that's where the rate of increase is seen. So we need to know where those outlets are, who can help us bring the information to this very specific group of people. So working with ethnic community media, not only through advertising, but also from the editorial side, and translating everything into relevant languages, it's crucial to the work we do at the health department as we educate and protect New Yorkers on public health issues.
Hi. Yeah, so from the press side to advertising the whole way down, it's important for the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs to be speaking to immigrant New Yorkers, who make up 40% of New York City's total population and 60% including their children. Limited English proficient populations make up about a little less than 25% of the city. So it's essential that we are reaching the folks intended for our different programming. As I said, in a recent campaign for IDNYC, for instance, we translated our ads into 11 languages. We spent approximately $200,000 on community and ethnic media alone, so that's inclusive of newspapers and radio. And so this is, right, we're similarly looking at demographics and statistics, right? If we think here's a population that has responded very well to the card, but we think that there's more there, right? There's more juice to squeeze out of the population. We want to make sure that those folks are being reached, particularly, I think, for limited English proficient and older populations, as well as newly arrived immigrants who are in the in all corners of the city. They're, as Maibe said, they're grabbing that newspaper from the laundromat outside the train station, and so that's where we need to meet them, and community ethnic media is essential for that, from press, editorial, and then, of course, with advertising as well.
Janet, do you have anything to add?
For our agency, it's often wanting to reach certain neighborhoods to get people to turn out to an event that's taking place in their neighborhood. So we'll be very targeted towards a neighborhood near where one of our fun free programs is occurring. One good example, apart from the Broadway showcase in the summer, is last fall. We had a One Film, One New York contest and then screening all on one day in September, and the whole idea was to get people to come out on one single day to watch a movie in their parks or local movie theaters. So our entire advertising budget, which was not large, I should add, was in community and neighborhood newspapers. So that's an example of when we really look to get the word out through publications like yours.
Jose, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, so many of you, I'm sure, have been at the town halls, from the community town halls at the mayor halls in the city. So, but I want to also announce that this year the mayor is bringing back the community and ethnic media town halls in the city. So we are looking right now for dates and locations for those. So this is gonna be where, for the community and ethnic media, and in these ones you can make questions, ask questions, because I know when you go to the community ones, media are not allowed to ask questions, but in this one, it's for you. I'm gonna keep you posted about that.
Okay, now I'm going to open up to questions from the audience. So if you can just raise your hands, I'll call on folks. All right, let's start with you over here.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting us for this interactive, discussion programs. And everybody knows that advertising money is the lifeline for the ethnic media and all ethnic media. I think all ethnic media is suffering from these advertisements. My question is to Jose Bayona.
Yeah.
A few years before, we saw that City Hall had ethnic media committee. And this new speaker took the office. Then the media committee was abolished.
I'm sorry,
the
new
ethnic media committee. There
Yes.
was an ethnic media committee in the city hall.
Yes.
And this new speaker, when he took office, it was abolished. And my question is whether this abolishment has any impact in the advertisements with the ethnic media from the city hall.
Thank you. So let's clarify something. You're talking about the city council, and we are the mayor's office. So in some way, we are at city hall both, but we are separate in this case. For us, that's not going to be an impact in every time anybody from the ethnic media needs information, because that's exactly what I do over there. So the mayor's office created this position years ago for all of you. So yeah, I heard the news about what happened at the city council. I'm really sorry about that, because I know some of those people that work at that office. But I'm sure the city council is working on how to transform those positions, and because there isn't the best benefit for the city in any of the agencies or any other to be still connected with you. I mean, with all of you. So I'm sure something's going to happen. I don't have any information about what, but at the mayor's press office, we are here. We're there for you.
The person right next to him, sorry.
Thank you, Katak. Before I'm asking a question, let me just introduce you myself. My name is Mujib Lodi, and I'm running Pakistan News for the last 23 years. I start my career in Delhi News and New York Times in marketing, and 16 years in Newsday. My question to you, Ms. Ponet, how you differentiate or get status if you are putting an ad in ethnic media? Because there's a lot of newspaper, it's a very small circulation, and some newspaper have a very high circulation, but equally is not distributed. So can you explain us, because it's very difficult and it's hard when the big newspaper, largest circulated newspaper, don't get city ad. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So it is definitely challenging to have full view of the media and ethnic media landscape, meaning there are many of you, and we get to know each other sometimes at these type of events, which is very helpful. This is why the mayor's office put together the directory. It sounds very simple, but it actually was a recognition, it was an acknowledgement that the people making decisions at city agencies and city offices didn't necessarily know. They might have the best intentions. They should want to reach out to the right people, but they might not know how or where, or they might have like outdated lists, right? So if I want to mention El Diario with all respect. I used to work there. If they think about Spanish newspapers, then they would probably think about El Diario because and I see somebody from El Diario here. They will probably think about they will think about El Diario, they will think about Amsterdam News, but they probably won't think about smaller publications or newer publications in Queens or anywhere. So it is challenging. I do have to acknowledge that. So what we're trying to do is one, identify who's out there. We do have another constraint that I think it's the elephant in the room, but it's true. Like we have a couple of vendors in place, contracts that were put in place way before all of us were here. 2 agencies that are in charge of doing the media buy for all city agencies. And so many agencies rely on them a lot. So what we're trying to change now, or what we are changing now is precisely having better idea of who's out there so that we can make suggestions to the agency and we can say, please look into X publication, Y publication, look into what they're offering and consider them for our buy. And I do want to stress that, again, we're very much following data. So when we at the health department, when we have a campaign, because Zika, for example, or Ebola, those were big issues. And we were targeting the case of Ebola, obviously African publications. In the case of Zika, Caribbean, Latino publications, because those were the. So we have an idea of the demographics. What's challenging is who is reaching out to the demographics, and in some cases it's some of you are very established, we all know it's Amsterdam News. Some of you, frankly, we don't know. So one thing that I will encourage everyone to do is, now that Jose is here and he has that email address, is just make yourself visible. That's not to say that it's only on you. This is a two-way street, definitely, but make yourself visible. Work on your advertising packet. Be ready to say, this is what I offer. And make sure that the people the key people in agencies know where you are, so they can make suggestions to or requests to the advertising agency, to Miller or Miller mostly. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just have a...
Almost, if you want me to clarify more, yeah.
But I just want to ask a quick question about that. But the advertising agencies work for you.
No, they do work for us. They do work for us. I do have to say, what I'm trying to point out is, historically, right? Those vendors were contracted, so that because they had the expertise, right? So they will know who's out there. What we have found out, is they know some of you, they don't know all of you. And I don't know if I can't say as to why. I don't know if they don't update enough or that's not. But so we have to educate ourselves more to know who you are so that we can make requests to the agency. Now, in agencies like mine, because it's very large, I do have a person that is working on that. Some agencies don't have that capacity. So again, I would encourage everyone to make yourself visible as possible, and to have your packets ready so that when there is a campaign that will, where your publication can be helpful, you can quickly say, this is what I have to offer.
Rosemary?
Please add, yeah, just on what Maibe was saying about the database, we actually created a community ethic media database that's on the city's intranet, so a shared internal secure network for city staff to access information for press coverage all the way through advertising. This was developed in partnership with the CUNY Center for Community Ethic Media, which has been a great partner here. So that is going to show, it's either self-reported or it's on public websites, and that's where we pulled the information from. But that's going to show things like you can search by borough or by language, and it will also show self-reported circulation data, as well as contact information. So my email address is up there. You can also email the ethnic media at City Hall. I very much encourage you to reach out to me regularly, update that information. If you want me to share with you on a one-on-one basis what information is in there, so you can tell me if that's still correct. That's a good way of making sure that people are able to stay in touch with you. And then on the note of advertising, so for instance, when we just launched our IDNYC campaign, of course we worked with the buyer who sort of produced a list of recommendations based on the targets that we wanted to hit. But then my job is to say, hey, I don't think that we're speaking to the Haitian Creole community. I don't think we have Bengali here. We need to increase that. So my job is to say, I know who's there because I have access to this database. I know what my community and my constituency is, and you need to add these publications. You need to switch these out, et cetera. So just to clarify, that is the work of the marketing director in partnership with Jose to make sure that that happens. It's our responsibility to make sure that happens.
Jose?
I want to add something to this question. Just wanna be clear about something. The city has the ultimate decision about where the advertisement goes. So we coordinate with each agency, also with the mayor's office, to know what communities are we reaching out. So, and it's where all these resources are going, because there are some messages on campaigns. Each agency is totally different. So I used to work at DOT. DOT is a big agency, and the needs for DOT are totally different than the needs for ACS, for example, or the police department. So sometimes they have to reach to different communities, in different mediums, not only newspapers, not only in radio, TV, or digital. So depending on what the message is, what the campaign is, a decision have to be made about where it goes, and the city is making that decision. Just wanted to clarify that.
All right, we have a question back here.
Good afternoon. My name is John Villafane. I am a Puerto Rican working for the Korea Daily, a Korean newspaper. And my question is that we currently work for with Miller Advertising, as everybody here knows. Hello, sir. How are you? And
yes, somebody from Miller is here. So you also want to introduce why you don't stand up?
I know him well.
Okay.
So my question is, since we deal with Miller Advertising, historically speaking, agencies do not like people like me to bypass them. That will upset them because they have all the answers. So we have to go through Miller Advertising to find out what advertising is the city going to give us. We only find out when they send me the insertion order. It's the only time. Do I bypass the agency and go directly to you guys and piss him off?
That's a great question, and we are prepared to answer that. So what we're saying here today is that besides the advertisement part, so the city wants to create a stronger relationship with each one of you, but also, as Maibe say, and all my colleagues are saying here, we need to know about you. So yes, we need you to talk to us too. In this case, as I say, the city makes the ultimate decision about that, about where the advertisement is going to be placed. Just do the math. So talk to us, and also talk to the Miller agency. We are, I mean, in this case, hold on. I want to clarify something. The city has a contract with Miller, but the same contract that the city has with Miller has some other contracts with other agencies. I think Miller is not the only agency that provides advertisement for the city, and this is not. This is the city put out a RFP, so every some time. So and there could be another agency that can come and say we are competing for that. So, and yes, Miller is involved in all the procedures because they are the ones who can. Who talk to you and make the contract, that's a fact. But also now we are changing the culture and say we are gonna work together with the city advertisement agencies and any other agency that is involved in this process.
All right, I just wanted to ask quickly first if Miller wanted to say anything in terms of how people should make themselves known to you.
They've been sending a lot of emails. We work with Moya and have the directory. And the best thing to do is to send us your information. And at the end of the day, like Jose said, the city makes the decision on where the ad's going to be placed. They give us the ads. We present all the information, the rate cards, the prices, the demographics, the circulations, and we give it to the agency, and the agency makes it the final decision of where the ads are going to go, and what papers they're going to use, and what publications they're going to go in.
So if I may compliment, just so we again, the health department is one of the largest city agencies with one of the largest budgets. You know what I often tell people, like my friends, some of I know some of you for a long time. Is like just make sure that Crystal, who is our media buyer, she doesn't she is not allowed to sign a contract with you because that's why we have Miller. But she's like, make sure that you talk to Crystal, and Crystal knows who you are, because then when we go to Miller will say, well, based on your demographic and the goals of your campaign, we recommend all these outlets. And we can say, well, you can expand, as Rosemary said, for IDNYC, they went, well, above $1 million, what the city would do, targeting how many again? 50 outlets. But again, it's really, you need that knowledge from the media budget at the agency and the relationship with Miller. There are many campaigns. Not all campaigns have the same budget. Some campaigns are very small, very targeted. And so there will be an inclination, and I just want to be frank here. There is an inclination to go for the largest outlet, because you want to reach as many people as possible. So what we try to say is like, make sure that you just target the right people in the right place, and you meet them where they are. So it's a change in culture, as Jose pointed out.
I wanna give a short example about that, and in defense of Miller, because when the city, there is a campaign, and they say we need to place this in the Chinese papers, and they say these are the suggestions, and sometimes the city is asking how many copies of that paper, and the agency goes back to the publisher, oh, we don't have that. So, and that becomes a problem sometimes, and I understand that the media come back and say, oh, I don't get the ads. Yeah, because this has to be a two-way conversation. We're proposing here today two-way conversations that we work together. So we need you to do the advertisement job that you're doing here today.
The gentleman with the microphone.
Hello, hi. My name is Abu Tahir, and I'm the editor of Bangla Patrika and Time Television, which represent the Bangladeshi community. It's very nice to see my friend Maibe Ponet here. It's been a long time. And also Rosemary. My question is, since the Bill de Blasio become the city mayor, definitely the New York City ethnic print media, they are getting some advertisement revenue. But I'm running a television as well since last almost 5 years, and except mayor, almost every, including the comptroller, public advocate, immigration commissioner, everybody appear in different show, and they knows what kind of sophisticated technology and our audience. But we don't see any advertisement in digital media like our TV or any ethnic media.
So I can start on that. You're included in our most recent ad campaign for IDNYC, which is fantastic. For us, for Immigrant Affairs, we work with HRA in these campaigns. It depends on the budget, right? For us, for instance, we didn't have the budget to also produce a TV spot, right? And TV spots are generally far more expensive. You also have to produce them. So, I can just speak from my experience. That's the reason why we don't have a TV ad with you, but obviously we've worked with your paper.
So I'm Gail Smith with Impacto Latino. We are the oldest Spanish language weekly in New York. We've been publishing for 51 years. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of you for being here, and thank you for acknowledging that we all play a vital role in communicating with the community, because at the end of the day, it is the community newspapers that are providing the information to the community, because they rely on us. This is still a newspaper town. So thank you for acknowledging that to us. So there was some mention of several agencies that work with the city, and sometimes not that, I believe that the onus is on us to build a relationship with you. I mean, that's the way I see it. It's my responsibility to make sure that I know you and that I know the key people in each of the agencies. But it is complex because there are so many agencies, so many people. And it would be fantastic if there was some way that we could get either a list.
Check.
That's not me.
Good job. Oh, you did it.
So it would be ideal if we can have some sort of a list. I know that in the what is it, the Green Book, there's a lot of information, but in one place where we understand who's in charge of what, and also understanding what other agencies, I mean, there's some ones, so obviously we all know Miller, but what other, you mentioned, Jose, that there's several other agencies that are working with the different agencies, so who are they?
Okay.
So what agencies actually advertise?
Absolutely.
And who are the contact people at those agencies?
Correct, at the agency.
But
So
that's what I meant, at the city
actually
agencies.
it's a two-prong. It's the city agencies, who does the media buys, who are the contacts, and then from the advertising agencies, the ones doing the media buys, who are they all? Because it's certainly more than Miller and the other big one.
Greystone.
Yes, Greystone, right. So what other advertising agencies are involved in media buys would be helpful to know.
Yeah, do you want to?
I can take the first
Yes.
part, and then I think
Why you don't-
Jose,
yes,
just
let's do that.
based on my experience,
Yeah.
I think Jose can talk about how you can get in touch with city agencies. Absolutely, we should make that happen, because those are, as Jose is saying, those are the primary points of contact, right? We have a contract with Miller right now. Contracts expire and turn over, right? So I think the important point is that the general information for city agencies, their press shops, their marketing shops, but primarily currently under contract, Miller, Greystone. We also work with a variety of other agencies for things like out-of-home advertising, subways, ferries, that sort of thing, right? Radio is sort of a beast of its own. Often that's sort of like a direct relationship, so that's a little bit different. I'm happy to talk to anybody about that afterward if that's helpful if you're in radio. But generally speaking, I think the long and short is those are the current contracts, but you should really be talking to the city agencies, because that's going to be the consistent relationship over time.
Yes, again, it's like, please start making relationships with the agency. But I don't want to use this word centralized, but I just want to highlight that this is a big city. We have more than 50 agencies in this city. So for you to be like checking with one of each one of them, you are not gonna print your paper or put out the TV program or whatever. So that is why we have the mayor's office and a press mayor's office and this position that I'm holding. That is why we have that email over there, EGNI Media, and as I say in the beginning, this is my job, to connect all the agencies and start making that happen. So, but before that, if you are thinking about something that you're looking for, get to know what health department does. So there is a website, we have everything online. So what are the campaigns going on? What are they announcing? And that has to do with when we make the events. So every day, the mayor's office and every agency, you see like 10, 15 announcements, city announcements. So, and that's related to something. So, and that's related when they say there is a campaign against flu, let's say, a flu vaccination campaign. When the announcement is made, the press release says, and we are gonna work in the next 6 months on this. But working on that means that the message has to go to the communities. And how we take that message to the communities, you, all of you. You are the medium. You are the ones working with us on that. So let's do this both ways.
All right, in the back.
And my question is a little bit self-serving because as the president of an ethnic media placement agency for the last 10 years, we, and I'm sure there are a number of individuals like myself, does have access to a number of radio station, and I'm not sure to the extent that Miller has worked with companies like mine. I've never worked with them. But I think that's also a win-win for the community as well as for the agency as well as for the city. Because I'm not the only one out there. There are a number of people out there, and they're real professionals. Most of us spent our time at large media agencies.
Hi, I have a question. I'm the editor and publisher of Brooklyner.com, which is the largest daily community news outlet in Brooklyn. And I wanted to get a better sense about how you think about digital ad allocations, because with the exception of the media department, we've seen very little in any of the digital-only outlets. We see them in community media, but, in ethnic media mostly, but in community media, not so much.
Yeah. Hi. Hi, I'm Janet Allen from MOM, and we have advertised with you. And you've also given us some very nice coverage. So digital is part of a lot of our strategies because we do a lot of programs where we invite the public to vote and weigh in on things. We would like to get that sort of involvement from people. We want to democratically select the next book that everybody's going to read together. So that involves clicking through to a voting portal, so it's a natural fit for digital advertising. I would say at least half of our advertising is geared for digital, so it's a big part of our strategy.
If I can
Well,
add
yeah.
that and follow up, like how much of your digital ads go to Facebook and Google as opposed to online local news outlets?
Yeah. No, look, little, and that's the answer. And I think there is a lot of room to grow in this area. As you know, I think we will all acknowledge that digital advertising is like it's vital in everything we do now. Like our media buys will include digital. But what I have found is, again, if placing advertising in traditional media, ethnic and community media is challenging, in digital, ethnic and community media is even more challenging. Meaning, the folks were making the decisions. Like this, I wish, and it is for a longer conversation, but I wish you could see how decisions are made in agencies. These are big, big bureaucracies. So you have a program that is working on a campaign. So let's use flu, though is imperfect because flu is a major campaign, but flu. And the program will come to centralized comms to say, with a very specific idea of what they want. And they say, I have, say, $300,000. And I want TV, I want print, I want outdoors, I want everything. and I want to reach to this population because this is where we're seeing like where flu is really bad this year. And so as we go through trying to figure it out how to do that with that, kind of limited budget, digital in community and ethnic media is often, at least in the experience of the health department, I'm being as frank as I can, is often not overlooked. I mean, it's just difficult to pinpoint. Like I want to go to your newspaper because I know, or to your publication because I know what you're offering. Often the people making decision wouldn't know. Again, it will be. There are exceptions. There are outlets that we had already identified, but I think, in my view, and I think what the mayor is trying to do, we can be much more aggressive. We can be much more diverse. So one thing that I want to, and really, if it's one thing that I would like you to take away from this is, let us know what you do. Reach out to us. I can give you the contact person for the marketing, for at least for the health department. And I think it's a great idea if we make all these contacts available. Tell us how you do, what you do, what you offer, so that we can go to Miller or whoever and say we want to work with these people. We want to work with them. So I want to acknowledge there's a lot of room to grow there. There's no question.
All right, we've got another question.
Just one point to that is that you should also provide, when you're providing circulation data for the database, you can also provide social media reach data, which I think is, or digital reach data for digital advertising, if that's a different number. And I don't know that it's been mentioned. We're going to wrap up here. I just want to make clear, since we haven't talked about it, advertising and editorial are two separate things, right? So just before we leave here today, coverage is completely separate from advertising, as it should be, just to be clear.
We're taking another question in the back.
Good afternoon, Issa Juf Campbell, covering the African immigrant community. The question that I wanted to ask is, how is structural racism in this country coming into play when it comes to advertisement? Because we've had many of these encounters when you say, oh, tell us what you do, send us your information, and all of us do that and nothing changed. So I think that agency need to be held accountable. Miller need to be held accountable because we are all taxpayers. The majority of this city, of these residents, are black and brown people. But oftentimes when we think about ethnic media, it's because we talk about Zika, it's because we talk about very specific things. But all these residents here are like any other resident of the city. They use city services the same way. So I think that you guys need to be held accountable and think of us not only for specific things, but everyday things.
Yeah, point well taken.
Okay, can I? Thank you for the question. Yes, we are city officials, and as per tradition, we are accountable, but I respectfully disagree with the second part when saying that there is some structural discrimination, because we've been there. We always put out all the information at the same level for everybody. And when we try to, when we're gonna place a campaign or something, we look into, we make a big review of who is out there. So in this case, I understand from the other side was the feeling for not getting the calls back or something on time, but also we are here. And I can see, for example, you are one of the persons that always respond to your attend our events and that, and I would like to see more of that, because when we send out, the other day we did some events for the community and ethnic media, and the response was not that high. So we are asking is that we need to get more responses and work together. So in that case, we can have a conversation later about that, but in this case, again, this is a two-way conversation.
Okay, we've got.
I would add to that we have, under the de Blasio administration, certainly recognized that there has not been as many ad dollars in community ethnic media, relatively speaking, to mainstream historically in city government, based on just reported spending for print and online advertising alone. The number of ads in community and ethnic media has increased over 300% since the start of the de Blasio administration. So there's certainly been an acknowledgement of what you're talking about, and Jose is here to make sure that there's a culture change and that we are advertising more broadly. Obviously, this is a city of immigrants, it's a city of color, and so we want to make sure that we're reaching actual New Yorkers in the places that they are.
And if I may, just on the point of structural racism that I very much appreciate, I just want to acknowledge that city agencies, and it's spearheaded actually by the health department, and I think this is, if I may suggest, this is a topic for another panel. It's really, we have been training our staff, everyone at the health department, on something we call Race to Justice, which is like precisely tackling on implicit bias and how structural racism does affect everything we do, which is very different from like discrimination. It's not that, it's like there is an issue. It is true, we see it like in the health realm, we see it in the incredible health disparities across the city. And a lot of this is due to implicit bias and structural racism. So I do want to acknowledge that, and thank you for bringing that up. It's true, there is a series of trainings, and not only the health department, I think there are other major agencies that are now getting on board with trainings around this area.
Before we take the last question, I just want to add something to the previous question that was just asked, and that has to do with certain advertising that comes from the Department of Finance, for instance. The Department of Finance puts out several times a year the tax lien sales, which are sometimes 20, 30 pages that go into mainstream dailies. Yet the communities that a lot of the addresses are included in there don't necessarily read those dailies. And there is no real opportunity for community newspapers, ethnic newspapers, to get that advertising. And the communities don't even necessarily know that those tax lien sales ads are in there. So they don't know to be looking in there on those dates to find out that their houses may be on the tax lien sales. So how do you reach out to those communities and include them in those buys? Because I mean, when you're talking about 30 or 40 full-page ads in Daily News or the New York Post, more than 1 or 2 times a year, because you've got based on the water, and then you've got real estate, and I think there's one other that goes out every year. That's a lot of revenue. And community and ethnic media are completely left out of those buys. And I'm just wondering if there's a way to start looking at community and ethnic media and looking at those addresses and saying maybe we need to look at the communities and maybe split those up and put those into community and ethnic media as well to allow for them to actually reach their communities that they serve. And so maybe the people that are in those communities will actually see if their properties are on those sale lists.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up, and I personally gonna look into that. So we are gonna connect after this, so because I wanna look into that. I don't have much background right now of why and what's the procedure, but I can look into that.
All right.
I know the legal notices. I know the legal notice is a big part of that. So I understand, and we are gonna look into that too.
All right, we only have time for one more question, and it's right over
Just
here.
I want to tell you that now to avoid adding in the newspaper, we see their increased depend on the social media to advertise and spread awareness about services. Many immigrants fall behind due to their limited technology use and language barrier. So how you can reach these immigrants, because they don't know how to use the technology, to go to the websites, to open Twitter, or and now I noticed that a lot of services or administration they depend on these Twitter or Facebook but the immigrants, and especially the new one, they don't know all about these services.
Immigrants, you want to start?
Sure, yeah. So as I said, we advertise in a variety of sources. So our online advertisements are all translated into, for this most recent campaign, 11 languages. That's primarily through for this most recent campaign with IDNYC in partnership with HRA. that was primarily on our digital media channels, because we know that immigrant New Yorkers do follow those channels because they know it's a good, consistent source of news that affects them. That said, that's exactly why it was very important as part of this ad buy that we are advertising with newspapers and then also with radio, right? Because we have, the data isn't perfect. If you have it, please share it with me, right? Of, you know, what are these sources of news for a variety of communities? But we do know, particularly for newly arrived immigrants, limited English proficient immigrants, older immigrants, that they are picking up these newspapers, they're turning on the radio, right? So that's been really important for us. And it's not just for Moya. That's the advertising that I can speak to, because that's that's the budget that I oversee. But we also work with Jose to talk to other city agencies to advise them. I'm often sending people lists of contact sheets if they want to be reaching a particular community. So again, you know, Jose is sort of in that official role, but I play that in an unofficial capacity with other city agencies. So please, let's be introduced to each other, share contact information, send me your updated info so I can add it to our directory.
All right, unfortunately, we are out of time, but I want to thank all of our panelists for being here today. And I just want to say that right here, we've got our New York City community. These newspapers make up the fabric and the livelihoods of so much of New York. We eat, breathe, and sleep what New York is. We are the fabric of New York. And without all of the newspapers that are in this room and countless others, New York couldn't be what it is. And us being around 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now is imperative to continue to have New York as vibrant and as special as it is. So we really do hope that New York City continues to believe in that too, and supports the community and ethnic media. And we thank the Center for Community and Ethnic Media for putting this panel on today. And in about 20 minutes, we've got the second session starting, the workshop, and hope everyone sticks around for that. And for the next 20 minutes or so, you'll have access to these folks to ask them more questions, and make sure to take down their email addresses so that you can get in touch with them after the panel today. So thank you all so much.
Also we have, I want to introduce a couple of city agency representatives from the Department of Consumer Affairs, Abby Lawrence. Abby, up. Abby is the person who oversees the marketing department there, so you can network with her. And also we have Raul here from the Minority and Women Business Entrepreneurs. So, and I don't know if the correction, there was another from the Human Rights Commission. Oh, right here. Just please stand up. This is from the Human Rights Commission, also from the marketing department. So you can network with them and get to know them more now. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much. Harnik. Yeah.
To mention is that they are here for next 15 minutes. You can talk here, and then we can go outside as well, because next we are having this training which will start at 2:30.